Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're diving deep into the world of startup funding.
Okay.
You know, that world where those billion-dollar ideas, they get their first big break.
Right. It's like looking into the engine room of the future.
I like that. And we've got the perfect guide for this little adventure of ours.
Okay.
A report from Bearhug Recruiting.
Yeah, I've heard of them.
Yeah, these guys, they're all about environmental tech, enterprise software, that kind of thing. And get this, every week they put out this recap of all the startups, the ones raking in the big
Oh,
investments.
cool. So it's like a who's who of the up and coming.
Totally.
Yeah.
A crystal ball, but for the tech world.
I like it.
But hold on, before we drown in a sea of valuations and jargon and all that,
Right.
can you give us a quick rundown on how this whole funding thing actually works for us, non-venture capitalists out there?
For sure.
Like, what's the difference between a seed round and a Series A round?
Well, it's kind of like imagine a tiny little seed, right? And it's pushing its way through the soil.
Yeah.
That's your startup in its early days. And that seed funding, that's the first bit of like sunshine and water it gets.
Right.
Often a smaller amount, helps them build a basic product, see if there's even any interest.
So they can prove they're not just like weeds in the garden.
Exactly. Now, Series A funding, this is where things get interesting.
Okay.
Our little seed, it's sprouted, it's showing some real potential, maybe even a flower or two.
Nice.
Series A, that's like a growth spurt.
Okay.
A much bigger investment lets the startup scale up, build a team, really hit the gas.
Got it. Got it.
Yeah.
So it's like leveling up in a video game almost.
Maybe you could say that.
Unlocking new possibilities.
Yeah.
But this Bearhug report, they're really focused on environmental tech and enterprise software, right?
Right.
What's that telling us? Why those areas?
Well, it shows you what investors really care about these days. And look, let's be real. We've got some big problems to solve, right? Climate change, not enough resources. We need systems that actually work.
Sure.
Investors are putting their money where their mouth is, backing the companies, trying to make a difference.
So it's not just about the bottom line anymore, huh?
No, it's about making a profit and a positive impact.
Got it. And this whole enterprise software thing, that's interesting too.
Yeah.
What's the deal with that?
It's everywhere. Every business, every industry, they're all trying to do more with less, right? Streamline stuff, automate, get ahead of the game.
Yeah.
Enterprise software, especially when you bring in AI and all that,
Yeah.
it's a lifeline for a lot of these companies.
Like they're saying, we need solutions and we need them now.
Exactly. And if you can deliver those solutions,
Yeah.
make them sustainable, make them scalable, you're golden.
The companies that can do all that, they're not just riding the wave. They're the ones steering the ship, huh?
That's a good way to put it.
And speaking of riding the wave, there's one trend in this report that's impossible to miss. AI. It's everywhere.
It really is.
Why is that? What's fueling this AI rocket ship?
Well, for one thing, we have more data than ever before.
That's true.
And data is like rocket fuel for AI.
Got it.
The more data it has to work with, the smarter it gets.
Right.
And the other thing is computers are just way more powerful than they used to be.
That's true. I remember having a computer that took like 5 minutes to open a web page.
Exactly. Now we have computers that can process massive amounts of data in the blink of an eye, and that's what makes AI so powerful.
So we've got all this data and all this computing power, and that's led to this explosion in AI.
Right. And on top of that, the algorithms themselves, the brains of the operation, are getting really good really fast.
It's like a perfect storm of factors that have come together at the right time.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
And investors, they see what's happening. They see the potential of AI to change, well, everything.
Yeah, it seems like AI is touching every industry these days.
It's not just a tech thing anymore. It's everywhere.
It's like the Wild West out there, but instead of cowboys and saloons, it's algorithms and funding rounds.
That's a good analogy. You're right, it's a wild time to be in the tech world.
Speaking of which, let's talk about some of the specific companies that caught our eye in this Bearhug report.
Okay. Yeah.
One that stood out to me was StackGen. They just raised like $12.3 million for their platform that uses AI to write code for you.
Yeah, I've been hearing a lot about them. It's a really interesting concept.
So they're saying that AI can write better code than humans can.
Well, it's not about being better necessarily. It's more about AI being able to do a lot of the heavy lifting, so to speak.
Okay, I see.
It can analyze existing code, find patterns, and generate new code that's efficient and effective.
So it's like AI is learning to code. That's kind of wild.
It is pretty amazing when you think about it.
Yeah.
But it's important to remember that AI is still a tool. It's not about replacing human developers. It's about giving them superpowers. You know, letting them focus on the creative stuff, the strategic stuff, while AI handles the more tedious tasks.
So less time debugging and more time for aha moments.
Exactly. And happier developers too, because let's be honest, nobody likes spending hours on debugging.
And happier investors too, because time is money, right?
Precisely. And that brings us to another really interesting company from the report, A-Fleet.
Yeah, they're tackling the trucking industry with AI, right?
They are. They're using AI to optimize trucking logistics, which is a huge industry with a lot of room for improvement.
So they're like the Uber of trucking.
Well, not exactly.
Yeah.
They're not a ride-sharing company. They're more focused on the behind-the-scenes stuff like route optimization, fuel efficiency, predictive maintenance, even driver safety.
So they're using AI to make trucking more efficient, more sustainable.
Exactly. And that's why investors are so excited about them. They're addressing a real need in a massive industry.
And it's an industry that's ripe for disruption.
Totally. The trucking industry hasn't changed much in decades, so there's a lot of opportunity for innovation.
It's like they're taking this old school industry and giving it a high-tech makeover.
That's a great way to put it. And it's not just about making trucking more efficient and profitable, it's also about making it more sustainable.
Right, because transportation is one of the biggest contributors to climate change, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
So A-Fleet's focus on sustainability is a big deal. They're not just trying to make a profit, they're trying to make a difference.
So as we're seeing with a lot of these companies, it's not just about one thing anymore.
Right.
It's about finding these intersections between like AI and sustainability and solving problems on multiple fronts.
Exactly. The most successful companies are the ones that can connect the dots and create solutions that address multiple challenges at once.
They've got to be adaptable, think outside the box, and be ready for anything.
Absolutely. The world is changing so fast these days, you have to be able to adapt to survive, let alone thrive.
Which I'm guessing is why Bearhug Recruiting is so focused on these sectors in particular.
Right.
They're looking for the companies that are building the future, not just trying to keep up with it. They're looking for the game changers, the ones who are going to make us all say, wow, I can't believe we ever lived without that.
Exactly. They're looking for the companies that are going to make a real impact, the ones that are going to change the world for the better.
And those are the companies we should all be paying attention to.
I couldn't agree more. They're the ones who are shaping the future, and we're all along for the ride.
It's like they have this uncanny ability to spot the next big thing before it's even on our radar.
Yeah, it's almost like they have a time machine or something.
Right. They're looking ahead, seeing what's coming down the pipeline.
And they're not just passively observing either. They're actively shaping the future by backing the companies that are building it.
It's like they're investors and architects all rolled into one.
I like that analogy.
Yeah.
And speaking of architects, one company from the Bearhug report that really caught my eye was Reshape Automation.
Reshape Automation. Okay, yeah.
They're tackling a really interesting challenge in the manufacturing sector.
Okay, I'm listening.
They're basically automating automation.
Automating automation. Now my brain is officially fried.
Yeah, it sounds kind of meta, doesn't it?
It does. Break it down for me. What does that even mean?
So think about it. A lot of companies, especially in manufacturing, they want to automate more of their processes.
Right, right. Makes sense. Efficiency, all that.
Exactly. But actually implementing automation, it can be a real headache.
Oh, I bet.
You got to figure out which processes to automate, what kind of equipment you need, how to integrate it all with your existing systems.
It's a whole thing.
It is. It's a lot. And that's where Reshape Automation comes in.
Okay, so they're like automation consultants.
Kind of. They use AI to analyze a company's existing manufacturing processes, identify the areas where automation can have the biggest impact, and then they help them design and implement the right automation solutions.
So they're like a one-stop shop for all things automation.
Exactly. And they just raised $5 million in seed funding to, bring their solution to more companies.
That's awesome, especially with all the supply chain issues everyone's been dealing with lately.
Oh, tell me about it. It's been a nightmare.
It really has. Every other week, it seems like there's a shortage of something new.
Right. It's like playing whack-a-mole with supply chain disruptions.
Exactly. So Reshape Automation, they're not just solving a technical problem, they're solving a real business-critical problem.
Exactly. And that's what makes them so interesting to investors.
They're addressing a pain point that a lot of companies are feeling right now.
Precisely. And they're doing it with a solution that has the potential to, really shake things up in the manufacturing industry.
Okay, I'm sold. Reshape Automation, we'll be keeping an eye on them. Now, let's switch gears a bit. Another company from the report that I wanted to talk about was Bounty.
Oh yeah, Bounty. They're doing some really cool stuff with AI and sales.
Yeah, they're using AI to personalize sales outreach, but we're not just talking about like adding someone's name to an email here.
Right, this is next level personalization.
This is like AI that knows what you had for breakfast personalization.
Okay, maybe not that personalized, but you get the idea.
I do. So how does it work? How does Bounty use AI to personalize sales outreach?
So their platform, it basically takes on all the grunt work of sales outreach.
Mm-hmm.
The research, the drafting, all that tedious
Oh,
stuff.
the dreaded cold email.
Exactly. Nobody likes sending those, and nobody likes receiving them.
Amen to that.
So what Bounty does is their AI engine analyzes tons of data about potential customers,
Okay, like what kind of data?
their online activity, their company's news, even their social media presence.
Wow, it's like they're building a digital profile of each person.
In a way, yes. But don't worry, it's all ethically sourced data.
Okay, good.
The point is, it allows them to craft these hyper-personalized messages that are actually relevant to the recipient.
So no more generic mass blast emails that just end up in the spam folder.
Exactly. And it's working. The companies using Bounty are seeing much higher response rates and conversion rates compared to traditional sales methods.
It's like they've cracked the code of sales outreach.
It's pretty impressive. And they just raised a cool $16 million to keep the momentum going.
$16 million, that's awesome. What are they going to do with all that cash?
They're going to use it to further develop their AI, expand their data analysis capabilities, and scale their operations to reach even more businesses.
It's like they're giving salespeople superpowers. Instead of wasting time on generic pitches, they can focus on building relationships and closing deals.
Exactly. It's all about working smarter, not harder, and Bounty is making that possible for sales teams.
I love it. So we've got AI writing code, optimizing trucking routes, automating automation, and now personalizing sales outreach.
It seems like there's no limit to what AI can do these days.
It's true, AI is popping up everywhere, and it's only going to become more prevalent in the years to come.
Absolutely. It's rapidly becoming an integral part of how we live, work, and do business.
But it's important to remember that behind every algorithm, behind every line of code, there are people driving this innovation.
That's a really important point. AI might be the tool, but it's the humans who are wielding it, shaping it, and using it to solve real-world problems.
The dreamers, the innovators, the ones who are willing to push the boundaries of what's possible.
Exactly. And let's not forget the investors who are willing to take a chance on these bold ideas, the ones who see the potential before everyone else does.
They're the ones who are shaping the future, one investment at a time.
It's like they have this sixth sense for what's next.
They do. They're like those trend forecasters in the fashion world, but instead of predicting the next hot color, they're predicting the next big technological breakthrough.
That's a great analogy. And just like with fashion, if you want to stay ahead of the curve, it pays to pay attention to the trendsetters.
They're like the oracles of the tech world, except instead of cryptic prophecies, they're handing out million-dollar checks.
Instead of sitting on a mountaintop, they're sitting in boardrooms. But yeah, I see what you mean. They have a knack for spotting potential.
They do. So as we start to come up for air on this deep dive into startup funding, what's the main takeaway you want our listeners to walk away with?
If I had to boil it all down to one thing,
Yeah.
pay attention to the intersections. That's where the magic happens.
Intersections. Okay, I'm intrigued. Break that down for me.
Well, we're seeing all these trends converging, right? AI, sustainability, this push for efficiency, for resilience in a world that just won't sit still.
Right.
The companies that are really killing it, they're not just riding one of those waves.
They're surfing all of them at once, like some kind of tech rodeo.
Exactly. They're finding those sweet spots where the trends overlap, and they're offering solutions that hit on multiple levels.
So it's not enough to just be like the AI company or the green company.
Yep. You got to be a little bit of everything these days.
It's going to be a multi-hyphenate company solving multiple problems with one hand tied behind your back.
Pretty much. Remember A-Fleet? They're not just about AI. They're about using AI to make trucking more sustainable, more efficient, more everything.
It's like they have a Swiss Army knife of solutions ready for whatever the world throws at them.
That's a great way to put it. That kind of adaptability, that's what gets investors excited, and it's what sets these companies up for long-term success.
Because these trends we're talking about, they're not going away anytime soon, right?
We have a chance.
Yeah.
This is the future we're talking about. It's already unfolding.
So for our listeners out there, even if we're not, venture capitalists with millions to throw around,
Sure.
how can we tap into this wave of innovation? How can we stay ahead of the curve?
Honestly, stay curious. Read reports like this one from Bearhug. Follow the blogs. Listen to the podcasts. Don't be afraid to go down those rabbit holes when something piques your interest.
So basically, be a deep dive enthusiast.
Exactly. Knowledge is power. The more you understand these technologies, the companies, the forces that are shaping things, the better prepared you'll be. Whether it's for your career, your investments, or just, navigating the world 5 years from now.
Who knows? Maybe it'll even spark an idea for our listeners. Maybe they're sitting on the next billion-dollar solution.
Wouldn't that be something?
It would. So, to everyone listening, keep exploring, keep asking those questions, and keep that entrepreneurial spirit alive.
The future's waiting to be built after all.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And on that note, we're going to wrap up this deep dive.
Sounds good.
Hope you enjoyed exploring the world of startup funding. With us, it's a wild ride, and it's only getting wilder.
It certainly is.
Until next time, keep those thinking caps on and stay curious.